Recipes for technical trading success in Cook's Kitchen.
Tesla to 7,000? Are you kidding me? I feel like we just did this video last week. But yes, I told you about somebody raised their price target to 6,000 a couple of weeks ago. Well, she took it up to 7,000. We'll get back to her reasons why in a moment, but I want to introduce our guest. I brought in Brian Bolin, a strategist here at Zacks, an aggressive technology growth investor here at Zacks, who was an early bull. He bought Tesla a little bit after the IPO, under 40 bucks, made some money on it, and he actually owns a Model X, go figure. So, Brian, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kevin. It's great to be here.
Yeah, what made you go out and buy the Model X?
You know, lust. Lust is my only logical answer. I wanted it, and it was just this. It was spur of the moment thing, really.
Yeah, that car payment hurts, though, right?
The car payment is easily the worst part of the whole thing. But and just another 7 or 8 years or whatever,
right?
It'll be gone.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about the craziness in the price action here. Today is Wednesday, February 5th. Yesterday, on the 4th, the stock caps off 2 days of going, 35% higher and goes to 900 bucks. What's going on here? Is this just short covering? Is this real money coming in? What do you think?
No, I definitely believe a big portion of it was the short burn of the century that Elon Musk talked about last year. It's just a few months late, really. I mean, if you think about it, but and I talked a little bit about this with some other investors about like that move over 900 and how much of that was forced covering in brokerage accounts. So smaller end players that are. They're just getting wiped out completely. Your brokerage account isn't going to let you be short and have a loss greater than your equity in it for very long, and they're just going to wipe you out. And that happens at the market, right?
Yeah.
And when you have lots of that occurring, that stock runs right up there.
Yeah.
So I think a great portion of the move up to 900 was short covering.
Yeah, you summed it up great there. And another dynamic here, a couple more dynamics. You had people shorting it on the way up during this, this launch from 550 up to 800. Like, oh, 650. This is a great place to get short. 750. This is a better place to get short. And all those people getting wrecked too.
Yeah, definitely. Those people got wrecked, but I think the people that at the end of the day, yesterday when it was 960 and it made a quick move right back down to like 880, anyone who shorted there did okay.
Yeah. I want to take a look at my screen here. I'm showing the price action today. So here we. Oh my God, did it get above 950 yesterday? Actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was,
okay.
960.
Oh, wow, 960. Last read I'm getting here, it was trying to hold on to 750 this morning and just busted through that down into the 17s. And just a lot of pain going on there for people who thought, oh, wow, this is the new paradigm. Tesla is taking over the world. So I feel bad for people who thought they could buy it. I want to show a 5-year chart, though, because something interesting stands out. I did, for our top stock picks on January 20th, I actually picked Tesla when it was at 500 bucks. Oh, and not because I'm a genius, but because I finally came around. And a couple of things I came around to were, hey, this thing had broken above 350. So you look at, 2015 through 2017, it spends all this time flipping around 200. And I don't know if you remember, in late 2016, I was bearish on Tesla and buying puts because he bailed in his solar company. I thought that was a terrible thing to do. I thought Elon Musk had jumped the shark by buying Solar City for $2.5 billion and basically rescuing it. What did you think at the time? Did you think it was just part of his long-term strategy to be an energy company?
I mean, there's always been the idea of the Tesla solar roof, and then the battery that you can have outside your house and basically get off the grid. Those are those long-term fantastic ideas of Elon Musk that not all of them pan out.
Right.
Certainly at the time, it felt like he was just bailing out, the Elon Musk trade, which was, it was definitely a pairs trade of short Solar City by Tesla. But, um, at the end of the day, solar is going to be a thing, right? And I think a lot of people
Yeah.
want to have it. It's just, how does it actually end up working, for the consumer? And I think that's just a little ways off. It's,
Yeah.
it's not something that's right here, right now, but it's coming.
Yeah. I mean, and this is why the head of Volkswagen calls Tesla a technology company more than a car company. I mean, here a major competitor says you can't value Tesla like GM, or Daimler, because it's a technology company, and that's really what convinced me in mid-January that something significant was going on. The other thing that convinced me was back to the price chart here, the long-term price chart. Then 2017, 2018 into 2019. You're in this 250, 350 range. It was, I even said a year ago, you could buy it at 250, sell it at 350. And then you look at what happened last summer into June and July, it falls back below 200. I mean, can you imagine the long-term bulls who had put up with this thing for so long, and all of a sudden they're getting flushed out below 200 bucks? Must have been, you had to have some nerves of steel to stay in there. So
yeah,
then,
I think that was around the time too when everyone had been crying that this thing is going to go bankrupt and it's just not going to work. And I mean the shorts were certainly piling on at that time.
Yeah,
so
and
you had to have a stiff stomach to take that.
Right,
to still hold.
And that Elon's never going to deliver. Right, Elon says
Right.
350,000 to 400,000 deliveries this year, and everybody's like, you know what, this guy has lost it. He's not gonna be able to pull it off. Something's gonna happen. He's either gonna do some other drugs on Joe Rogan's show, or send out another tweet that basically kicks him out of the company. But then somebody was obviously paying closer attention to any kind of channel checks, and the stock started rallying in Q3 and Q4. Then he delivered, right? That great earnings report in October. 357,000 vehicles are going to come through, and then the stock took off. Once it got above 350, I'm like, geez, man, this is, you're above this 350 here on the price chart, and that's exactly what it did, and it just launched. So let's talk about part of the launch was due to these crazy price targets from the CEO of ARK Invest Funds, Catherine Wood. When I did my video on January 20th, she had just bumped her price target from 4,000 to 6,000. And I said at the time, well, this is a 5-year price target. And her thesis, I saw her talk on this, is robotaxis. That Tesla is in the prime position to own the space for ride hailing of autonomous vehicles. And so that's why she said long term, they're going to own the space. They're going to do 80% gross margins there. But she just upped it again to 7,000 in 2024. Basically, still a 5-year target. What do you think? Is she right about this robotaxi future?
A lot of people talk about the autopilot, the autonomous driving for Tesla, and I can tell you as someone who drives one, and I do put it on autopilot, pretty frequently. We're not there, and it's going to take a few years from where you're at. I know Elon talked about it and making it to make it happen, this year or last year. And there are great features, right? So like I was at a Target, and there's a little button on your phone. If you hit "Come to me," it can drive the car by itself through the parking lot to come get you. So it's kind of interesting seeing a Model X do that.
Yeah, you said
at the same.
You said you've been tooling down I-80 at 80 miles an hour using the autopilot, but you won't use it in the city, right?
Yeah, I won't use it in the city. You can't really use it. It doesn't. It recognizes stop signs and traffic lights, but it won't stop for them just yet. And there's updates all the time that are occurring over the air. But at the end of the day, you know, do you want, if you bought one of these Teslas and, one of the nicer ones, maybe, the Model 3 will have the same functionality here. But do you want someone in your car and, being a robotaxi at night while you sleep or while you're not
Right.
using it after it drove you to work? Should it drive around for other people? And, part of me is saying like, boy, that seems like a good income stream to help me pay off this crazy thing. But
Yeah.
at the, other than that, I don't know that I want like a lot of strangers going through my Tesla. I'm
Yeah.
a little possessive of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, uh, it's something that can come down the road.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no, but I don't know at this point. I want to, pin all of my hopes and dreams to
Yeah.
the Robotaxi idea.
One thing that you said when we were talking offline before was that it does the automatic updates to the software, and obviously that's never caused a glitch for you. Autonomous driving is coming, and Elon Musk didn't invent it. We've had Mobileye out of Israel. We know NVIDIA is doing it with trucks, and they're just going to keep better at it. So there will be these occasional accidents. On the bell curve, there's going to be some outliers, but overall, they just keep getting better at it. I want to talk about valuation. And then we'll talk about the other big bull on Tesla too. But so valuation-wise, I said on January 20th, hey, so maybe if the Volkswagen guy is right, you can pay 3 times sales for this thing. If it's truly a technology company, and you apply, if it's growing at 30%, and you can apply this kind of multiple, then you can pay. Back then in January 20th, it was a $90 billion company, and sales were projected to be, I think, just about 30 billion. So that was like 3 times sales. Then we launch up to 160 billion. That's at $900, and that's obviously overdone it a little bit. So right now I'm looking at it like, hey, if you get a chance to buy it at 3 times sales, which would be, that's still 100 billion valuation. It's probably not going back there. Today we're looking at, under 750. It's probably trading, 130, 135 billion, and it's still rich, right? So that's like 4 times sales. What would you pay for Tesla on a valuation basis?
Yeah, it's one of those things of like, are you using the valuation metrics or are you looking at the stock price action? Last few days, if you're looking at the stock price action, it is very difficult to say, yeah, I would love to get in here, even at these levels, even at,
Right.
the 725, the 750 or 700, for that matter. Why should it be there right now? I mean, certainly the blip up tells you it can go there. But you get overwhelmed by the price that you have to pay more so than, the actual multiples that you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
I did a video the other day on it. It was 91 times forward earnings. I see it now at 113 times forward earnings. You have to be a gigantic believer in the idea that the next car that they're going to be producing here, the Model Y, which will be the mini version of the X, you have to believe that this is the one that's going to have the real demand because it's going to carry better gross margins, and it's really going to, turn that profitability switch, turn that dial all the way up for Tesla.
Do we know a price range for that, an MSRP?
I believe that was in that $60,000 range, the $50,000 to $60,000 range. I haven't checked on it in a long time. There's more to life than just Tesla, right?
Right.
So I'm not on all of these things, but it's the one that they've learned all the lessons from the Model 3, right? And they're gonna do that, learn those lessons, improve the efficiency around the beginning of the mass production of that car. And should be much better. It should be a smoother ramp higher for deliveries for that car. And there's plenty of reservations. I don't know the number offhand, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised that there's 400,000 or 500,000 reservations for that car. And
Okay.
People don't buy cars just because they want them. They generally use the car that they have for as long as they can and then buy it. So there is a cycle of automobile purchasers that are out there that are waiting for their existing car to be no longer good before that they, make that leap to buying a Tesla.
Okay. All right. In addition to you, Mr. Bolin, as a number one bull, an early bull on Tesla, we have two other people that I got to give a hat tip to. And one would be the Morgan Stanley analyst, Adam Jonas. He's been there forever as a Tesla bull, right?
No doubt, yeah. He's been in a long time. He
Yeah.
took all the heat early on when there was a lot of heat to be given.
Yeah, and of course some reporters got a hold of him yesterday. They wanted to go to him and say, okay, what do you think now here at 900? And he really had to say, well, in a Super Bowl case, because he never expected it to do this in a matter of weeks. But he says, I'll just read this. As the dominant supplier of EV batteries and powertrain technology for the market, Jonas sees a path towards Tesla earning $8 billion in annual profit, which valued at 10 times implies $400 of value per Tesla share today. And then he works some other math to get up to, $800. But that's not his price target. I think he's lower than that. So it's even surprised him. The third guy I want to talk about that's been an early and steadfast bull is Ron Barron, who runs a family of funds eponymously named Barron. I think in the summer, he still owned like 1.6 million shares, and obviously he's done really well. He, 2 or 3 years ago, he had a $1,000 price target on Tesla, which everybody thought he was nuts, right? Remember that? And,
yeah.
And, he said, so he did an interview on CNBC last summer, and he said, listen, the company is experiencing some self-inflicted wounds. And we all know what that is, Elon on Twitter or whatever, but he held strong. And, so that's a guy you got to give props to. If you'd paid attention to his thesis, I'm not saying that Tesla deserves to be trading $800, but he was always a long-term bull. And that's kind of how you look at it, right?
Right. I mean, one of his ideas there is that this is, definitely game-changing technology. This is going to change the foundation of transportation. The semi-truck got a ton of buzz. We haven't heard anything of that since. But his idea is that these game-changing and these earth-shattering style things, they end up having, many multiples of your initial investment when you hold it for several years.
Right.
And, at that time you're saying, we really don't have many multiples. We have 1, maybe 2, but we're looking for 10, we're looking for 15. And, it's like you hear that and you're like, okay, well, these are shares that are not going to be sold short anytime soon or
right.
or just hitting the market. If anything, he is probably going to be buying more. But, big position, guy has stuck through it and paid off, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, listen to Ron Barron. I'm looking forward to an update on his thesis. I don't know if CNBC has had him back on, but I want to hear where he is. And one thing that you and I are definitely not doing is we are not shorting Tesla anytime soon, and we may be buyers. I'm not long now. Are you long now, Brian?
No, I'm not, but I got to tell you, it's one of these stocks that you suddenly have to watch all day.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a compulsive gambler in me type thing, but it's like, boy, oh boy, when is this going to get to the level where I'm going to be like, okay, I'll do it, and it's getting closer right now. I mean, 720 is a lot better than 920 if you're going to be buying long for the next year. But definitely it's a position size in your portfolio that's maybe just a little bit smaller than the normal average.
And analysts are really paying close attention now to the numbers. Elon said they're going to deliver 500,000 cars this year, and maybe he tops that, right? So I've seen revenues go from this year's revenue forecast consensus was just over 30 billion. And now it's almost 32 billion. Just in the past few weeks, that's inched up. So I think we're going to get a lot more details from the analysts and paying attention to a guy that is now very credible in his vision of building an EV car company. Wouldn't you say?
No, absolutely. I think before the, we had the pedo thing, we had smoking the weed, we have, all the crazy stunts that he pulled, and suddenly, it's like, oh my gosh, okay, now that he's and I saw our old colleague Eric Dutram put out a tweet the other day saying that, just that move, earned him like a $30 billion or something crazy. So, that alone would put him into one of the top richest people of the world. So, I think there's going to be a different air around. He's already had the fans. He already had plenty of fanboys out there. But I think now we're going to be taking him a little bit more seriously.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I left out is when I did that video a couple weeks ago, I said another thing that convinced me that Elon Musk has got his stuff together is they just did that launch at Cape Canaveral with NASA where they tested his Crew Dragon, right? So they put the crew capsule on the Falcon rocket, the Falcon 9, and then they did an abort test mission. So launch it, a minute 30 in, crew capsule launches away from the main rocket. The main rocket blows up, catches on fire, and the crew capsule lands in the ocean, uncrewed. But NASA was part of that, and NASA was just like cheering it on because now they can let NASA astronauts go up in space on Elon's hardware. And to me, that just proves this guy surrounds himself with the best engineering talent in the world. And there's something to be said for that he'll probably solve just about any problem that gets thrown at him.
He can definitely recruit some strong talent now. I mean,
yeah.
If you think about it,
right?
Okay, we've got these shares of Tesla that could become part of your incentive package.
Yeah.
So while that might not have drawn a lot of people in before, it's definitely something that people will be looking at more closely now.
Last thing, I just want to show the estimates here on Zacks.com on the detailed estimates page. I mentioned $32 billion in sales for this year. That would be 29.5% growth. And next year, 2021, the estimates do not slow down. The consensus is $42 billion. The high estimate is nearly $60 billion. And just that consensus of $42 billion would be 32% sales. So the analysts already see I don't want to call it exponential growth, but they see the steady growth of this car company becoming very successful. All right, Brian, thanks for joining me and sharing your continued bullishness on one of the greatest car company innovations in our lifetime.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen.